I'm just thinking about like, have you seen if they ever release a Geo Theater?
Aware.
Because
Yeah.
this is something I've been talking about on my stream. It's like if you're a Navia mate, you're kind of, you've got some prime real estate, because if you don't play Ito, you're probably not building Goro, and you're probably not building Goro just by himself.
I mean, hell, even if you are playing Ito, like, what are you gonna do? Put Ito and Goro in your lineup, and then not get Goro at all until like the last favor when you've already used your Ito? Like, you can't do that.
That's terrible. Albedo's old as well. He's probably not that popular anymore. Probably only old players have him, being honest. Ito as well, he's not even that popular as well.
Yeah.
Chiori is also probably not that popular. And then you've left with the 4 stars, and you're left with like Yunjin, who's like a niche.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Ning is actually good enough for Theater.
Yeah, which means like a lot of people, like, they either have to build Noah or Ningguang,
or hope that they have enough with the other 2 elements. But yeah, it's rough.
I think it's like, isn't it 18 characters you need on between all 3 elements?
It's 12, but some characters are forbidden. Like, it's 18 total, but there's the trial characters.
Oh, okay.
But effectively, like, outside of the trial characters, you need 12. But your 12 can't be any of the trial.
Okay, yeah. So it's not really 12 then. Yeah, I get that. So yeah, I mean, the sad thing is, I feel like if someone could do a survey out there in the world, I feel like on average people would only have 1 Geo character built, even old accounts, which is Zhongli.
Yeah, for sure.
And the sad thing is, Geo is not even the most wild one. Geo is not even the most wild one. The wild one is Hydro, because if they don't...
Oh yeah, if you don't have the 5 stars, you're fine.
Genshin is random. They release banners however they want. If they don't put any 5 stars on the banner when there is like a Hydro Theater going on, you're left between 3 Hydros, and that's not even the craziest thing. So okay, Candice, Xingqiu, Barbara, like these characters, Candice only runs once a year. Candice only runs once a year, and then Xingqiu and Barbara are like twice a year. Barbara's technically free.
True. You do get Barbara guaranteed. And Singso's also technically free, because if you're not getting Singso from the Lantern Rite, when you don't have Singso, you're a complete idiot.
But there is a gap of like 6 months, or maybe 5 months, where someone could be starting the game after a Xingqiu banner, and they would probably have 36 star the Abyss before you even reruns again.
Yeah, I really do think that, like, if you're playing an account optimally, it's very possible that you start 36 starring Abyss before you're even able to enter Imaginarium Theater.
Yeah, I talked about this in my video. It's like the hardest thing about a theater seems to be
owning the character.
just being able to do it. It's not even that the game mode, it's nothing to do with the game mode, which I think is a big problem. And I'm lucky that, well, we don't know. It remains to be seen what they actually fix with it. But
I mean, I half agree with that. I don't think that it inherently needs to be difficult. It's just that if it isn't difficult, it needs to be different. It can't just be Abyss with restricted team. It needs to do something like meaningfully different from other game modes in terms of gameplay. Even if it was easy, if it at least was like Sim Universe, where like you have a lot of wondrous boons that actually change gameplay. Even if it was easy, it could still be fun.
Because like in most roguelike games, people like roguelike games because they can do something different. Or like if it's like a gacha game, like one of these games, the roguelike stuff like Simulated Universe or the Elusive Realm, they do something that you can't do with your current characters. So they give like the unique buffs.
It makes you feel a lot more powerful.
They could easily do that with Genshin. Like imagine if there was like Dia, and then they let you have 100% uptime in her like burst mode, or like so she just like, I don't know, anything that people have wished they had. Or like Xingqiu, if Xingqiu suddenly has like 10 rain swords or something, like just like stuff like that, which is like it's interesting
Even if
buffs.
It isn't character specific like that, it can still interact with characters differently, right? Like for example, if they make a buff that significantly increases overload damage and makes it not knock back anymore, or like make it so that swirl generates a tornado, make it so that when you apply hydro on hydro, it makes them super wet and they take more hydro damage, or something like that. Ways to interact with the elemental system outside of just what the reactions do in the base game, because like people wouldn't like Sim Universe if you got to the end of it and you were just playing a team normally, right? Like, people like Sim Universe because you're doing 3 more billion damage with dissociation at the end. You're ulting 3 times in a row with your carry.
Well, kind of a stupid. Look, these buffs don't do anything, man. 3% damage. I've heard that there is a buff that gives grouping. I haven't seen it myself, but my chat has said that's a real thing. But aside from that, it seems like the buffs are just like small number increases. I don't know. I don't know if there was anything else unique that you could get.
You have some buffs that do something that's like somewhat interesting, but it's effectively just numbers buff.
And it's not even big
like
numbers buffs.
Like it's a relatively small numbers buffs. Like triggering overload reduces enemy resistance by 10% or something like that.
Yeah, like the ones I've seen, it's like there was one that's like skill damage, 8% when you do something, and three stacks, which is like 24%. But that's basically the same thing as a card. You can get it as a real card. There's like
exactly. That's what I was talking about. It feels like by the end of theater, because there's a lot of buffs that just only do things for specific characters, and because you have to change your specific characters on every chamber, at the end of the theater, like, you're gonna have maybe 3 or 4 relevant Wanderer's boons to your final team, and it's effectively the same as if you just had Abyss cards from chamber 1 to 3.
Yeah, and like you said, one of the cool things about like Simulator Universe, for example, is it's big buffs and it feels different. Wait, hold on. Someone in my chat said you can enter this from the roof. Are you trolling?
Probably. Where?
But yeah. So it's like roguelike modes having like big buffs feels impactful. So it's like what you do in the, and the thing is you have to choose between more characters and more buffs. So you're not even getting that much buffs anyway, because a lot of people like are prioritizing getting characters so that it's not playing dog teams. And then I saw this online actually. What happens is in Imaginarium Theater is that your teams are actually or the gameplay is worse than normal because you're not getting that much buff cards and you're playing scuff teams. So instead of like how most games do like roguelikes where you're getting stronger and they inflate the enemy's HP, so it works out, which makes sense, but you're doing like 1 million damage or whatever. But in this, it's like you're doing worse damage and you're playing worse teams, so
I've tweeted about this. I said that it effectively feels like you're playing floor 10 of Abyss, but you're forced to play teams.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, funnily enough, I think I said that in one of my videos, but then someone said that you said that. I guess we both probably said it. I guess it's an obvious thing.
It's true, so
yeah.
I'm sure we could both get to the same conclusion.
The gameplay itself was basically like the Abyss. It was not different.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess
they did say they're going to improve it.
Yeah, I made a community post about it. Some people were saying like you still don't know what that really means because they can say they're improving anything and you don't.
Yeah, but it's like they're at least addressing that there are issues with it, and they're expressing that their desire to improve it, which is more than they've ever done for Abyss and all of its issues.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. Yeah, that's the main thing. Because basically for Genshin, like the standards of Genshin are so different that for them to even acknowledge something is basically it's a big deal. Because yeah, usually I would expect just complete radio silence, but for them to acknowledge it like straight away and then there's all these new games coming out probably means it's like 5 times worse. So for them to say like lack of sufficient positive feedback, stuff like that, probably means it was terrible feedback, and they're gonna work on the elemental reaction stuff. I don't really know what that means too much. I mean, who knows? Like they could do an insane switch up, or they could just do nothing. I don't know. To me, it's like Genshin characters are designed incomplete, or I don't know. They just don't work well solo. Like they work well with specific synergies, not necessarily specific characters and whatever. And I'm not necessarily talking about like the most meta of meta teams. I'm just talking about like we can lower the standards a bit and just make characters feel like they're actually functioning how a developer might want them to function. But yeah, it's like just because you're restricting elements like to pyro and electro doesn't mean, like I think their mistake was that doesn't mean that we're actually going to be playing overload teams like Chlorend, Arlecchino, and then you're like using Arlecchino's off-field pyro for overload. Yeah, like I said, not even just super meta. I'm not even talking about like chevres, like actual good overload heals. Like lowering the standards, you you need the off-field of the opposite element to get something to function. And I think their mistake was that, well, it's not really a mistake, it's just that the game for the past few years has just not been intentionally trying to fill all the gaps and make sure everything is just functioning. They're not prioritizing the abyss or prioritizing combat when they design characters. You know how we talk about like how maybe 14 characters a year, maybe like 3 or 4 of them, it looks like they actually tried to make them the strongest possible. It's like they've wasted like 5 different chances to make like more Xianglings or more Bennetts or another Chevreuse or whatever. So what happens is that when you shove a bunch of Electro and Pyro and Animo characters, we're just making nonsense teams. It's like, maybe if we have like a Bloom theater like Hydro and Dendro, maybe they could get away with just shoving a bunch of those characters in our lineups, and then we would naturally play like Nilou. Then again, you still need Nilou, but if you had Nilou, at least like randomized teams could actually do the reaction.
Virgin Theater.
The Burgencies, that stuff like that would be absolute tragedy. It would be even worse than this, because like, imagine how much randomized Burgeon teams you'd have to do to actually create a team that actually does Burgeons.
Listen, the secret is you fill your roster with Hydro and Pyro characters and Nahida. So you play 2 Burgeon teams and the rest of 8 teams.
See, that is rough, man. Then, well, my conclusion was that they weren't, unironically, like 4 years into the game, they weren't ready for this game mode. Like, they needed like...
I don't know if that's true. Like, again, right? Imagine if they added something like every time you hit an enemy with a charge attack, you deal like 100 motion values worth of damage, or 200, or whatever, right? And imagine how that could warp things and make you use characters that you generally don't use. You'd start using Diluc for his charge attack. Like, damn, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, if they change the buffs and stuff like that, that would work.
Yeah, like, okay. The buffs can actually be game warping enough that those characters that were designed to kind of just be throwaway characters actually start feeling better because of a very specific niche part of their gameplay.